All righty then. What a day. What a day. First of all, I'm a bomb-throwing radical from way back. I think the Republicans blew it today. I think their big move was to stand up and walk out. And we said, everybody's cheering on Doug Collins and Jim Jordan for making the same 4 points he's made for the last 4 weeks. And no, none of that's going to move the needle. All America hears is wah, 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 wah. Okay? Getting up and walking out, and then going immediately to a presser where they laid out point by point all of the violations by the Democrats, that would have moved the needle. Shifty Schiff is hiding behind this lawyer Goldman, beady-eyed barrister, and who wasn't under oath, by the way, so what's the point? All you need to know about today is this clip right here.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Mr. Castor, you are recognized for 30 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
And Mr. Castor is recognized for 30 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Okay, for those of you who don't know Robert's Rules of Order, a point of order takes precedence. When there's a point of order, the chairman of the meeting has to recognize the person making the point of order. Same thing with a point of privilege. Nadler's not doing that.
Castor is recognized for 30 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, the witness has violated Rule 17, and my point of order should be heard.
Point of order.
The witness has used language which impugns the motives of the president and suggests he's disloyal to his country, and those words should be stricken from the record and taken down.
Nadler turned to his lawyer, and his lawyer said response 7A. Nadler turns back, and this is what he gives us.
Point of order is not sustained. Witnesses are not subject to the rules of decorum.
Appeal the ruling of the chair.
In the same way members are. The topic of the hearing is the president's misconduct, so none of us should find it surprising that we are hearing testimony that is critical of the president.
He's freaking reading the denial of the point of order, the denial of the motion. They've got them all written out. They've got them all scripted. He's not even ruling on the merits. He turned to his attorney. His attorney said 7A. He goes to his page. He reads response 7A. This whole thing is scripted. It's a sham. It's an absolute kangaroo court. And I do think it's good that Louis Gohmert called it out as a kangaroo court. Said that he'd been part of many kangaroo courts, not his own. So he can recognize when he's in a kangaroo court, and he recognized that he was in a kangaroo court today. All right, Louis. But do you think that's going to lead the nightly news? No, it is not. Now, a lot of people disagree with me. They say, no, it's good that the Republicans are playing fair because then history will show that the Republicans tried to play fair and the Democrats didn't. Well, guess what? None of that matters right now. What matters right now is waking up the normies, waking up the people that aren't paying attention. And what would wake up the people that aren't paying attention? Getting up and walking out. Because that they would have to cover. And of course they would try to spin it. So what? You cannot react from a place of fear. You cannot live your life in a place of fear. Ooh, if we do that, they're going to say bad things about us. Like somebody was all upset today that Comey came out and said the report exonerated him. Are you freaking kidding me? The report could have said James Comey committed murder, and he would get out and say the report completely exonerated me. Who cares what James Comey has to say? James Comey isn't the arbiter of this. Durham is. It's always been about Durham. Somebody else said, I know, trust Horowitz, now trust Durham. It's like, no, it's always been Durham. You fundamentally don't understand the role of an inspector general. An inspector general's remit is solely to examine behavior that occurred in his or her realm. Whether it's the intelligence community, whether it's Department of State, whether it's the Department of Treasury, whether it's the Department of Justice, whatever federal department the inspector general is assigned, bam. That's the sandbox. What happened? Is what happened a violation of our policies and procedures? If so, what recommendations do we have for improving those policies and procedures? An inspector general is not a federal prosecutor. An inspector's job is solely to make sure that people in that department color within the lines. And if they don't color within the lines, recommend remediative actions to make sure in future people color in the lines. That's why training is recommended, future training. That's why Ray's response today outlined all the things that the department was going to do to correct its FISA. That's what you want to happen. If you're upset about Horowitz's response today, Horowitz's report today, you fundamentally don't understand what's going on. You really don't. You shouldn't be upset. You should be elated. He found 7 instances of serious violations of law in the first FISA application and 10 more in the subsequent 3 renewals, and then a whole slew of Woods process violations, which is how they determine how good the evidence is. He basically said the FBI lied to the FISA court by omission and by commission by mischaracterizing Steele's, the probity of Steele's testimony and Steele's work, overestimating Steele's credibility and completely omitting exculpatory evidence. Horowitz said every single time they found evidence, it was exculpatory and it was withheld from the FISA court. That's huge. That's enormous. That's a hole that Durham can drive a fleet of trucks through. We got 17 documented violations of law by the FBI. And Sally Yates is trying to use the excuse, well, the underlings didn't tell me. I can't be responsible if the underlings are going to intentionally withhold evidence. Doesn't matter. Buck stops with her. Horowitz's job was not to bring anyone to justice. Horowitz's job was to look at what the Department of Justice did and was it inbounds or out of bounds. And if it was out of bounds, how can we make sure that it's not going to be out of bounds in future? Which is what Americans should want, because that FISA process should never, ever be used for political purposes by either party. So tightening that up is a good thing. Ensuring that people's civil liberties are not violated is a good thing. Okay? What went on in the House today was an absolute joke. And none of it matters because they're going to impeach him. Which is why I said that the Republicans should have gotten up and walked out, because that would have moved the needle. That would have been disruptive. I look at things in terms of being a disruptor. What things are going to disrupt markets? Trump is a huge disruptor. He's a freaking wrecking ball. If the Republicans had gotten up and walked out, not in a huff, not petulantly, but gotten out and gone straight to the microphones the way that the Democrats do. They even made a joke today. How long is the recess going to last? Well, as long as the press conference that they're going to give. And they joke about the Democrats doing it. Why the hell don't you do it too? Get up and walk out. Boycott the hearings. And go to the press. Go to a bank of microphones and say, Chairman Nadler is denying us this. This is fundamentally un-American. This is fundamentally against the principles of the Constitution, and call their asses out. Don't be afraid. Don't operate from a place of fear. Oh, they're going to say mean things about us if we do that. Shake them up. That's what needs to be done. U.S. Attorney John Durham did something today that I have never, ever seen. Unbelievable. I literally have never seen this from a U.S. attorney. He commented on an ongoing investigation. Have never seen it before. Probably will never see it again. This is what he said. I have the utmost respect for the mission of the Office of Inspector General and the comprehensive work that went into the report prepared by Mr. Horowitz and his staff. It was 276 pages of thorough, sober analysis. It was a beautiful job. However, our investigation is not limited to developing information from within the component parts of the Justice Department. That's Durham telling everybody Horowitz was limited to DOJ documents and DOJ testimony. Most of the people that he was looking at don't even work at DOJ anymore, so he couldn't even talk to them. However, our investigation is not limited to developing information from within component parts of the Justice Department. Our investigation has included developing information from other persons and entities, both in the U.S. and outside of the U.S., meaning we've got the goods. No slam on Horowitz. Horowitz's job was to look within the department. Criminal prosecutor's job is to prove that a crime has been committed. Based on the evidence collected to date, and while our investigation is ongoing, meaning I am taking the extraordinary step of commenting on an ongoing investigation, last month we advised the Inspector General that we do not agree with some of the report's conclusions as to predication and how the FBI case was opened. Well, Horowitz didn't say that it was opened properly. Horowitz didn't say there was sufficient predication. Horowitz said he couldn't find any documentary or testamentary evidence to prove that political bias, which was clearly evident, impacted the decision making. Doesn't mean that there wasn't any information, just meant that he couldn't find it within FBI and DOJ documents or testimony from people that he was able to interview. Remember, he wasn't able to interview everybody. So with limited information, he said, I can't find, he didn't say there wasn't any. He said, I can't find any information on it. The bar for starting an investigation is so low, you merely need to have articulatable facts that it was met. But that's like saying, Professor Turley had a great article in the Hill today, and he analogized that to an investigation of the Titanic disaster, and saying the captain properly initiated the voyage from Southampton docks. Great. What happened when the iceberg started showing up? Well, when the iceberg started showing up at DOJ, DOJ hid evidence. DOJ lied about their witnesses' credibility. DOJ basically deceived the FISA court. Okay, so that happened. And then Barr came out, and Barr said, nothing is more important than the credibility and integrity of the FBI and Department of Justice. That is why we must hold our investigators and prosecutors to the highest ethical and professional standards. I'll tell you, there's a huge problem in the federal courts and in the state courts of prosecutorial misconduct. Here's the game they play. They don't disclose the Brady information, the exculpatory information that they're obligated. See, they're not obligated to show. It's not like a civil trial where you've got to show your entire file. In a civil trial, if you sue me, I get to see everything that you're going to present as evidence to the court. Okay, there's no such thing as trial by ambush in the civil realm. In the criminal realm, the prosecutors under Brady 1963 decision have to submit to the defense all exculpatory evidence in its possession, but they're not obligated to show their whole file. Okay, they don't have to tell you that they've got 3 witnesses that are going to swear under oath that you committed the crime. They only have to tell you about the one witness that they have that said you didn't commit the crime. See? So, just like you don't have to, just like it's, the problem though, is that prosecutors delay on presenting exculpatory evidence, Brady evidence, to the defense and try to get a plea deal. Okay, so most of the time, the prosecutorial misconduct never even comes to light, because what happens is they come out with all the bad information. They keep all the exculpatory information themselves. They might have a videotape of someone else committing the crime. This is literally how bad it is. They might have a videotape that shows that someone else committed the crime. They won't give it to the defense. They'll get a plea agreement. The guy will go to jail for 10 years, and the prosecutors are off the hook. They're more concerned with getting a W so that they can someday run for office with a great conviction record than they are in serving justice. Okay, sometimes justice is done by the department not bringing a case, Sometimes justice is done by the department losing a case. If the government cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that person committed the crime, regardless of whether the person committed the crime, they have to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the person committed a crime. If they've withheld evidence showing that the person didn't commit the crime, or even casting doubt on whether the person committed the crime, that is prosecutorial misconduct, and it happens all the time. It happens so much that Judge Alex Kozinski, one of the few good justices on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, said that there is an epidemic among federal prosecutors with withholding Brady evidence from the defense. The DOJ has no credibility. The DOJ are a bunch of thugs with shields. That's what the DOJ is. They're a bunch of thugs with shields. It happens all over the country, and it doesn't just happen with black defendants. It happens with white-collar defendants. It happens coast to coast and in Alaska and Hawaii too. It's a game that they play. And the problem is there's no criminal penalty for it. The only penalty for withholding Brady evidence is that the judge can throw the evidence out, or the judge could order a new trial. There's no penalty for the prosecutor to do it. So of course the prosecutors do it because they're only concerned with their conviction rate. Just like it's against the law for you to lie to a cop or to a federal agent, but it's not against the law for them to lie to you. There's no penalty if they lie to you. If you lie to them, you're a felon. See how that works? It's a rigged system. The Inspector General's investigation has provided critical transparency and accountability, and his work is a credit to the Department of Justice, and I would like to thank the Inspector General and his team. Absolutely. If this Inspector General report results in FBI tightening up its FISA procedures and cuts down on the prosecutorial misconduct, you know, if we can weed out the Andrew Weissmans of the world from the federal prosecution staff, that would be a very, very good start toward restoring the Department of Justice's reputation. This is again Attorney General Barr. The Inspector General's report now makes clear that the FBI launched an intrusive investigation of a U.S. presidential campaign on the thinnest of suspicions that, in my view, Attorney General Barr's, were insufficient to justify the steps taken. It is also clear that from its inception, the evidence produced by the investigation was consistently exculpatory. Consistently. Nevertheless, the investigation and surveillance was pushed forward for the duration of the campaign and deep into President Trump's administration. In the rush to obtain and maintain FISA surveillance of Trump campaign associates, FBI officials misled the FISA court, omitted critical exculpatory facts from their filings, and suppressed or ignored information negating the reliability of their principal source. That's the Attorney General talking. That is absolutely devastating. The Inspector General found the explanations given for these actions unsatisfactory. While most of the misconduct identified by the Inspector General was committed in 2016 and 2017 by a small group of now former FBI officials, the malfeasance and misfeasance, two big no-nos, malfeasance and misfeasance. Malfeasance meant you did something evil. Misfeasance means you didn't know what you were doing. You were incompetent. The malfeasance and misfeasance detailed in the Inspector General's report reflects a clear abuse of the FISA process. That is the U.S. Attorney General speaking. That is huge. For the U.S. Attorney General to call FBI out on clear abuse of process, of malfeasance, of misfeasance, of consistently withholding exculpatory evidence, that none of the evidence found was against the president, that all of the evidence found was exculpatory, and that none of it was presented to the FISA judges. The FISA court judges need to start holding contempt hearings for those FBI officials, and they need to be debarred from that court, and then we need to have disbarment proceedings in the jurisdiction that has granted them law licenses. FISA, this again is Attorney General Barr, FISA is an essential tool for the protection of the safety of the American people. The Department of Justice and the FBI are committed to taking whatever steps are necessary to rectify the abuses that occurred and to ensure the integrity of the FISA process going forward. That is what every single American, regardless of party, should want. An honest FBI, an honest DOJ that only uses the extraordinary powers of the FISA process when absolutely needed to protect the safety of the American people. No one, again, the Attorney General Barr, no one is more dismayed about the handling of these FISA applications than Director Wray. I have full confidence in Director Wray and his team at the FBI, as well as the thousands of dedicated line agents who work tirelessly to protect the country. I thank the Director for the comprehensive set of proposed reforms he's announcing today, and I look forward to working with him to implement these and any other appropriate measures. Translation, I've got Wray on a short leash. This is no different than President Trump saying, I have full faith and confidence in the Mexican president to take care of these cartels so that I won't have to send in the military. You feeling me? He's got Wray on a short leash. With respect to DOJ personnel discussed in the report, the department will follow all appropriate processes and procedures, including as to any potential disciplinary action. Disciplinary action is just the first step. The second step is potential criminal prosecution. Hello, U.S. Attorney John H. Durham, no bull Durham. So don't be dismayed by today's report. You should be elated by today's report. We have documented abuses of the FISA process by identified FBI agents. We have documented instances of FBI agents and DOJ staff withholding exculpatory Brady material from the FISA court, deceiving the FISA court. We have documented that all of the evidence that was found in Crossfire Hurricane was exculpatory. They didn't find anything, which impacts this impeachment nonsense, because now the Senate can use that and saying, wait a second, Department of Justice said all the information they found was exculpatory. So how can you say that the president colluded with Russia? Because yes, now they're back to Russia in the Mueller report in the impeachment perversion of law, fact, and truth. All right, be happy, get excited. It's always been about Durham. Horowitz didn't let us down. Barr didn't let us down. It's always been about Durham. Get happy because Durham is a no-bull guy. See what I did there? Also, I called it a year ago. I told you a year ago that they were going to impeach Trump. Impeachment of Donald Trump was a foregone conclusion. As soon as they won the election, I told you that they were going to impeach Trump. This is what their case boils down to. Peach 45! Peach 45! We can't beat him at the ballot box, so we got a Peach 45! That's all they got. They got nothing. Now, don't expect the Senate to give the House Republicans and the president the trial that they want. They're not going to call Hunter Biden. They're not going to call Joe Biden. They're not going to call Adam Schiff. But they are going to give the president a vigorous and zealous defense. Remember, the senators are simply jurors. The senators just sit back and listen. It's 100 people, 100 jurors sitting back and listening. The House managers run the impeachment trial. So we got Nunes, we've got Collins, we've got Jordan, we've got Elise Stefanik, maybe a manager. We got the band back together in the Senate, okay? Chief Justice Roberts is going to rule on procedure, but the trial is going to be conducted according to rules and procedures mutually agreed upon by Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell. So they're not going to allow it to turn into a debacle. It's going to be serious, it's going to be sober, and the Republican managers, the House managers, are going to have an opportunity to put on the defense the opportunity that was denied them by the criminals Schiff and Humpty Lumpty. All right? That's all I got for you tonight. Until next time, God bless you. God bless these United States. Keep fighting the good fight.